Hi, so this is my review of the third episode of the second series of Broadchurch. As with my other videos, if you aren't up to date with the latest episode, then don't watch this video because obviously I'm going to be talking about what happens and everything, so you will be spoiled? I don't know. Don't watch it, basically. So this time I'm going to start with the Sandbrook case, summarise what happened in this episode. So at the end of the last episode, we had saw Lee and Claire disappear from Ellie's house. We presume that either Lee has taken her somewhere or that she has left willingly with him. So this episode starts off with Alec in a total panic. He takes Ellie's car and chases off trying to find them. And it turns out that they're both at the safe house that Ellie's been living in. And it sounds like she did leave willingly with him. They got in a taxi and she told him the address of this place. And when he leaves, Alec confronts Claire about that Bluebell letter that Ellie had found in the wardrobe. And she claims that she doesn't know who sent it, that it got sent to her PO box a long time ago. But yeah, I think there's still a bit of suspicion there. But we then see her have like a little bit of a flashback to her slapping a man, which could be Lee, it could be someone else, and saying, "What have you done?" Later on she goes out on a night out with Ellie. You see them both go off to what appears to be an underage disco. They seem to be surrounded by really young people, apart from two other men of their age, who they end up then going home with. While they're on this night out though, Ellie takes Claire's phone when she's at the toilet and looks for telephone numbers and writes them down. She's obviously a bit suspicious about what is going on and how much that Claire knows. Then those two end up going home with those two guys that they met in the club, and we see Ellie have really uncomfortable sex with this guy from the club, where she asks him to tell her that he loves her, which is just really kind of cringy, but it's obviously because she's completely messed up about what happened with Joe, and she just kind of wants to have a little bit of a memory of that kind of time when she was with someone who loved her and when he wasn't killing children. And the next morning Ellie and Claire have a bit of a chat, and Claire tells her that Lee had drugged her. He had Rohypnol and he drugged her, and she woke up the morning after the girls had gone missing and she found him cleaning the whole house. And you then see Ellie talk to Alec about this and tells him what Claire admitted, and it turns out that Alec is kind of quite suspicious of Claire, and he actually just wanted Ellie to try and speak to her to see what she thought of Claire, and it turns out that they're both very suspicious of her, and Ellie doesn't really believe that she was drugged and that she didn't know anything. So yeah, it kind of ties in with what I said in the last one. I don't think that Claire's completely innocent. Oh yeah, another thing as well, so we've seen Claire talk to Ellie and we've got a little bit more information about what apparently happened. You know, she's saying that she was drugged. But Lee also turns up to Alex and he's got a big file of interviews and everything that he's been gathering. So it turns out he's been going around interviewing people pretending to be Alec to try and find out who did do it, you know, find out about all these people that apparently the main investigation missed. So he talks about like a guy that was seen in the village, about the dad of one of the girls, and yeah, coincidentally the dad is played by, like, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's been in quite a lot of things, so it's obvious that he's going to be featured a bit more in the series. You know, he's not just like some unknown extra or an actor, you know, he is a good actor. He was in Misfits, actually. He played the support worker. So yeah, I think he's obviously going to be in the series a lot more, and could be he's a suspect, could be that he's just a red herring. Yeah, so I think it looks like the storyline is kind of moving more towards the it could be someone else other than Lee aspect. But again, it could all turn around at the end and end up actually being Lee. But yeah, at least we're kind of delving a bit more into this now. It's obviously going to be more of an investigation now as to who it is, rather than just being about Lee and Claire and, you know, what's going on with those two. It's going to be quite interesting for the rest of the series. In fact, I'm kind of finding that a bit more interesting than the Joe Miller trial side of things at the moment. So on to the Joe Miller trial, which is the other main storyline. So at the end of the last episode, we'd seen Joe's confession being thrown out of court because of Ellie's actions in the last series where she attacked him when he was in custody, and we saw Beth confront Ellie about this and then go into labour. The first part of this episode is Beth giving birth, so Ellie helps her back to the house. Mark is nowhere to be seen. I can't remember if we know he's with Tom at that point, or if he's just kind of missing. We don't know who he's with, but Chloe, the daughter's there as well, and you can see that she's kind of not as angry at Ellie as Beth is, so she kind of talks to her about the whole thing. And when Mark arrives eventually, whilst she's still in labour, you can kind of see as well that he's sort of thawing towards Ellie. And once the baby has been born, you can see that Beth is still like, I do not want anything to do with Ellie. But Mark and Chloe are kind of a bit more like, well, you know, maybe we should let her stay around, it's not her fault kind of thing. But yeah, Beth's still pretty firm on that. She's also pretty firm on still wanting to go to court despite the fact that she had just given birth a couple of hours before. So we see her go into court and watch Ellie being questioned. And on the prosecution side of things, so when Jocelyn is interviewing her, she's kind of trying to paint this whole story about the attack being, you know, it's a husband and a wife. It's not about a suspect and a police officer. It was a wife attacking a husband, having found out that he's betrayed her for all these years. But then when the defence comes up, they are painting a completely different picture, and they accuse Ellie of having had an affair with Alec. Now, I'm pretty sure that we know that is not true. I'm about 99% sure that they're definitely not having an affair, just based on the fact that all their interactions we've seen of them together, it does not seem like people who are having an affair. It seems more like a kind of brother-sister relationship. You know, they obviously care a lot about each other, but they also bicker all the time. But I don't think that there's any chance that they have been having an affair behind our backs as well as behind Joe's back. But she does talk about a couple of things, like the fact that Ellie went to Alec's hotel room the night that Joe was arrested, and she was there for 2 hours. Now, I can't remember, because it's been so long since I watched the first series, if we saw that, if we saw her go to the hotel room. I remember her being in a hotel room, but it was with the kids. So it was with Tom and Fred, and Alec came round. But I can't remember us seeing her go to his hotel room. If I'm wrong though, then let me know in the comments, because we might have seen that. If we haven't though, then I guess that casts a little bit of doubt as to whether or not there have been things happening that we haven't seen on screen. But yeah, I don't think that it's likely that they have been having an affair. But that is the route that the defence are taking. So they're saying she was having an affair with Alec, so they have basically framed Joe for this murder. They talk about the fact that the text messages and the emails and things that were recovered on the computer and the phone, that they don't have any proof that that was Joe. That could have been someone else pretending to be Joe doing the messaging. And they also talk about the fact that, you know, Ellie is a really good police officer, and that the fact that she didn't have any suspicions about Joe and she didn't notice anything means that, well, he didn't do it. You know, she's really, really good at her job, and she was, you know, in line to be promoted and all of that. So if she didn't notice that there was anything wrong with Joe, then that means that there wasn't anything wrong with him and he didn't do it. So that's the angle that they're taking. In terms of where I think that the defence are going to go with this, I can't remember if I said this in the last video or not, but I think there's two things that are going to happen here. Either they're completely pinning it on Mark, because we saw in the last episode that when Beth has been questioned, they were obviously prying her a lot on Mark and about how he was having an affair, and that Danny knew, and that he'd once hit Danny. So I think either they're going to continue with that, and when they question the rest of the people, they're going to be questioning Mark's character and trying to make it out that he would have killed Danny. So that's one angle, that they're going to completely put it on Mark, and it's going to be about trying to get everyone else to, you know, give evidence that kind of puts him in a bad light. Or it's going to be that they are going to put the potential blame on everybody. So when they question other people, it'll be about, you know, when they question Paul, for example, they'll kind of make it sound like, well, you could have potentially done it. And then if they do that for everybody, then their kind of summary will be, well, we have shown how it could possibly be all these different people, and you can't say that you've got more evidence to put it on Joe than you have on all these other people. So if you can't be sure that it's him and it's not anyone else, then how can you convict him? So it'll either be that, it'll be a, you can't be sure it's him, it could be anybody, or it'll be, we are sure it's Mark. So yeah, I think there's two ways that the defence team could go here, and I think we'll be able to tell once we've had another couple of episodes. So yeah, be interesting to see which way that goes. Either that, or it could be a completely different third option that I'm not thinking of. So that's a summary of what happened in the episode with the two main storylines. If I go back to questions I've had in previous videos, the main one's really been around the Jocelyn and Sharon, the two lawyers, you know, what is their background. And in this one we got another little peek into both of their lives. So with Sharon, we saw her get up at like 3:30 in the morning to go and visit her son a juvenile prison, and it's mentioned that he's got another 6 years to stay there. And I suspect that this is the case that she hinted at that Jocelyn wouldn't take in the past. So I think she has maybe asked for her help when her son was up in court and Jocelyn refused. So I think that is what the history between the two of them is about. On Jocelyn's side, we find out that she's actually in a lot of financial trouble. Her mother is in like a care home and she's struggling to pay the rent, and it's all kind of getting a bit too much for her. You see her like in her car, she's kind of really tired and ends up driving into a ditch. So obviously the questions really now are, well, am I right? Is this the relationship between the two of them? Is it Sharon's son? Was this the case that Jocelyn wouldn't work on? And then also, is there something else wrong with Jocelyn that that's being alluded to at the moment? Or if it's just all the kind of stress of the money worries and the case and everything that's getting a bit too much for her. The other main question that I had, which is kind of now the whole point of the Sandbrook story, was about whether or not Claire knows more than she's letting on. I think yes is the answer, and you know, whether or not her story about the Rohypnol is true is now the main question really. Is that what has actually happened, or is she covering up for something? And I was talking to someone at work about this the other day, kind of talking about whether or not she might have been having an affair with someone, and that is the person that has done something to the girls. And because we don't know for sure that that was Lee that she slapped in the flashback, it could have been this mystery man. So that's a possibility as to what happened there. Yes, B.
You reading your shop and listening to the camera?
You want me to be in the Broadchurch review?